4th, 2024 Hollis School Board meeting to order is 6 p.m. We're going to start with any agenda adjustments, nominations, resignations, retirements, correspondence, Pass to you. Andy and Gina. Well, Andy's staying on top of the possible weather situation tomorrow. We were just discussing.
I have a retirement. Dear Superintendent Corey, it is with mixed emotions that I inform you of my official notification to retire at the end of the school year 24-25. Thank you for the opportunity to have served the community of Hollis, and I look forward to my next chapter. It has been an honor and a privilege to be a teacher at HPS for the past 39 years. I treasure that I have had the opportunity to teach over 700 students during my time at HPS. I will end my career with many fond memories over my tenure, and I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to learn from such wonderful educators early on in my career. I have been blessed to teach many children over the years and have been fortunate to have their children and relatives as well. My greatest enjoyment has been watching my students progress academically, socially, and emotionally each year. As I reflect on my journey, it has been a wonderful ride. I have received notes or visits from former students of their fond, favorite memories in my class and the impact it has had on their lives and their career choices. There is no greater reward than receiving those meaningful messages. Thank you for the fond memories, HPS staff, students, and families. I will always have a piece of Hollis in my heart, and that comes from Greg Ashley.
Wow, what a beautiful letter.
It's
Wow.
a wonderful letter, fantastic gentleman. I consider myself lucky to have spent over a decade working with him. He's a fabulous gentleman.
I will take a motion to accept the letter of intent to retire received from Gregory Ashley with an effective date of 30/6/25.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Ashley. He's our well-known name in our school district.
Sure is. Yeah, that's really lovely. What
Kids have
a
the
lovely
pleasure of
letter.
having. Well, thank you. Man, we need to put those at the end.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an agenda adjustment next time. All right, any other? Can we vote? Oh, yeah, we got to vote. Sure. No, we're not actually accepting. It's fine. All those in favor of accepting? At 0-0.
Thank you
Best
very
of
much.
luck to Mr. Ashley.
That is it for nominations, resignations, and correspondence tonight.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we are moving into the approval of minutes from the November 6th meeting with the following amendments. Page 4, line 4, replace would we with we would. Page 5, line 15, replace now with no. I'll take an motion to accept as amended. So moved. A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? 5-0-0. Thank you. All right, at this time, we are going to enter non-public. It is 6:03 p.m. We do need to take a motion by roll call, if we could. I'll accept that motion. If anyone would like to deliver it.
I move that the board by roll call go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A3(2)A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, and C, to discuss a matter which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of a person other than a member of the body or HSD itself.
A second?
Second.
All right, to vote on this, we need to do a vote roll call.
Amy, aye.
And I.
Jess, aye.
Carol Roy, aye.
Raphael Zach, aye.
5-0-0. We're going into non-public at 6:04. We are back from our non-public. And I wanted to make a quick agenda adjustment, if I could. And we'll take a quick vote on this. I'd like to move the deliberation portion about the HESA and HEA ratified agreements up to right now. Would you guys be okay with that?
Yes.
Before public input? Excellent. Do we need to actually take an official vote? We can just nod and agree. All right, so let's go through that. Bear with me. I will entertain motions to ratify each of the two agreements.
I'm just looking for my outline.
It's right below public input because we didn't have a whole bunch of other stuff in between. They're just long.
I move that the board ratify
Thank
the
you.
tentative agreement between the Hollis School Board and the Hollis Education Support Staff Association, NEA, NHSA.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Well, I think,
Wait.
you think you should.
Oh, do you want to have discussion? Can we? Oh, of course we got
Yes, I
well,
think
we
Anne
have
should
to-
present some of the,
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Just for
I was ready to go.
all of our, very excited listeners at home who are at the edge of their seats wanting to know what's happening here. So our HESA negotiations were very positive. They were very smooth. They were very pleasant and amicable. We really enjoyed working with the union. All requests were very much within reason. We were able to come to some agreements. Most notably, of course, for the interest of the taxpayers on salary and on insurance. And so it came to light that it was in the best interests of not only our support staff, but also all stakeholders, parents, students, and the district, if we offered health insurance to all 30-hour employees in the HESA union. Why is that beneficial for all? Right now, the district is incurring a huge expense contracting out positions for paraprofessionals that we are unable to fill because we are not competitive, because we don't offer this benefit at this time to our 30-hour employees. And as a result, we're paying approximately 3 times the cost for those contracted employees that we would if we had hired them outright. Our challenge in hiring these professionals to work with our children is that we don't offer health insurance. That's what people want. So by offering this benefit, we'll be saving the cost that we're putting out to these contracted employees, and qualitatively, we are going to then be receiving people who are part of our community with our kids, people who are working directly with not only our children with special needs, but all of our children. So we felt that this was a long time coming, and everybody was very pleased about that. So as a result, between salary increases and the addition of health insurance, in year 1 of our contract, the cost will be $362,843. In year 2 of the contract, we will at $186,801. And in year 3, $137,121, giving the total cost for all 3 years to be $686,766.
And just to pull some of that out a little bit, tell me, you can correct me where I maybe don't get a detail right, but it's my understanding last year, what we paid just for contracted paras, which isn't even everybody who would be covered by the HESA contract, right? Because that's also administrative assistants and such. We paid something like $600,000 to us?
About $628,000 just
And that was
for
just
that.
just for the contracted folks,
That was
not
just
for everybody.
Yep, approximately, I believe it was 11 employees. So we would be paying about a third of that if we had hired them ourselves.
Yeah. So it's a spot where in one spot the budget is increasing, but in another spot there's a significant decrease.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Anne?
Also, Anne, I just wanted to make sure I understood this correctly. It sounded like also this is something that the budget committee is in supportive of offering
The
health
budget,
insurance.
according to our last budget committee meeting, The budget committee seemed to be very much in support of this because of the incredible cost of these contracted employees, which has put us, outside of our budget at this point of the year because it's very difficult to plan for that cost.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Thank
All
you,
right.
Amy and Ann, for negotiating.
Nice job. All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of accepting the ratified HSD contract? 500. Okay, we can take a motion on our next contract.
I move that the board ratify the tentative agreement between the Hollis School Board and the Hollis Education Association, HEA.
Second,
Second.
discussion goes to me. We had a great conversation with the HEA representatives. I'm just gonna pop this to me just so it's clear. Very respectful, as usual. Great conversation. We were very clear on the things that we needed. They were clear on the things that they needed. We came to agreement on some. We disposed of others. The most notable portions of this are going to be that everyone is moving to back on step. We wanted to have everybody on step. That was something that was requested, and we wanted to honor that. And that actually will make raises not only more predictable, but also more consistent across our teachers. We also made an adjustment to the insurance coverage for our folks. So we have been operating under a cap model where it's a dollar amount of money. As we know, insurance rates can fluctuate greatly. Last year, the insurance hit our Hollis teachers with an 18% cost, and they had to absorb all of that, which means for many of them that they're taking home actually less money than they were before then. So this year they're making less money, and we don't feel that that's correct. We found out through this process that we are one of 3 districts in the state of New Hampshire who were operating under a dollar cap model rather than a percentage model. And in order, one of the overarching things we talk about, you guys just mentioned it for the HESA contract, is to be able to retain and attract the best teachers. We've been doing that pretty well. This, I think, is the next step in solidifying that, and the rest of the negotiating team agreed. So we have moved to an insurance coverage by percentage instead of dollar amounts, depending on if you're a single, a couple, or a family coverage. It's 100, 90, and 80% coverage for those. We also made an adjustment to leave. So we moved to a sick bank model, which means there are days put into a bank that can be drawn from by those members of staff. That gets rid of the intermediate term income protection, or ITIP. I had to write it down. I never can remember that. They laugh at me for it too. But that was a good switch over. The sick bank model, for those of you that don't know, has been in effect at the co-op for many, many, many years, run successfully. Does Brookline have that as well? Yes. So Brookline has that as well. So that's another kind of unifying factor across the SAU, that now Hollis will have that, and that is something that the teachers themselves administer to themselves, which is nice. We did increase their sick leave to 12 days per year in light of the sick bank switch as well. Another notable point was the kind of granting of some more blocks of planning time, structured in a different way, so they're able to have, like I said, a block versus a few minutes here and there. That was a very minor switch for us. It's really more scheduling. It's not a monetary impact, but that's a real impact on our students and how their teachers can be prepared to bring them into the classroom and work with them. And then we did some addressing of a couple of different things, such as unapproved leave, the no call, no show, when you don't have leave left, what does that look like? And a lot of what we put in, it was more of scribing some of the things that we were already doing in practice, but we wanted to ensure that no matter what changes may happen at the SAU or at a building principal level or whatever, that they're still maintaining the same environment that they're used to. To just kind of talk numbers, this is one of the largest contracts we've had, but for all of those good reasons that I just outlined. So we're pleased that this would be a total of $1.242 million. It's $1,242,930 to be exact. Year one is $387,396. Year two is $430,174, and year three is $425,360. We are very pleased with that number. We worked together on getting there, and I think that we both groups, HEA and the Hollis School Board, are getting what we need to move our district forward with our students and our staff. So I want to say thank you also to the negotiating team from the HEA. Always a pleasure. We had a good time, actually. Some good laughs. So any questions from board members?
And just for those listening, that number also includes 5 new positions.
Correct. So that's 5 new positions who are also getting the insurance. And one of the questions that I had gotten about the insurance was, oh my gosh, so you're going to pay 80% of a Cadillac plan. Well, no. What we had to do in order to do the percentage caps on those insurance models was that we're offering a single plan, if you will, and they can take it on one of those levels, single, couple, family, or they don't have to take the insurance. But that was one of the trade-offs as well for us to keep the costs down for us to be able to cover them in a percentage fashion instead. So think of those 5 positions also then qualify for everything that's in here also. But yeah, when you're talking about adding staff, that's not $100 here or there. That's a staffer plus their insurance and everything. So it's not as huge of a jump when you're talking about adding the head count.
I apologize, I forgot to ask this earlier, but what are those positions that are being added, or is it
Well,
to be determined?
some of them are already in. That's the
Okay.
thing. So when we say they've been added since the last contract was negotiated 3 years ago.
So we have
So
to
obviously
find
we've
out.
added positions here at HPS for the new classrooms that were added and things like that. Do you know the list off the top of your head?
So mostly case managers for our in-house programs.
Okay.
So really there's long-term cost savings, but still a percentage on a larger head count means a larger total dollars.
Yep.
But we did add 2 classroom teachers at HPS.
Yep.
And then I believe it was 3 case managers.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so it's kind of echoes what you guys are seeing. It's gonna offset the costs of sending it out because we brought it in.
Do you know what the total? So it's 5 on top of what the total was. Total positions.
How many people are covered by this?
I say 71. That is
Ballpark.
complete.
That's, no, that's ballpark. Yeah. Probably right on.
What you would well
Yeah.
have that answer.
She was like 71.5.
Yeah.
It actually is a point somewhere.
See, there you go. All right, any other questions on HEA? I also want to thank Jessica. She was part of that negotiation as well, even though I just did all of this talking. She was an integral part of it. So this was it was a good team. So thank you. All right, seeing no further discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor? 0-0.
And Amy was a part of HESA and amazing, who also saved the day earlier this year. So I think that should be said.
Nice, nice. Excellent. Well, thank you guys for the allowance of the agenda adjustments. I know we had some audience members who wanted to be here for that, and we wanted to keep you from driving in the snow. So, thanks. At this time, we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled agenda and open the floor for public input. Are there any members of the public who would like to come up and speak? All right, I'm leaving it open at 6:48. We'll leave it open for some time in case anybody does arrive. And in the meantime, we'll continue moving forward to our principal's report.
I'm just going to highlight a couple things for you. The trimester one ended 11/26, so we'd like to thank all our teachers for all their efforts in the first trimester. At Hughes, they will be having the STEM Mobile Lab coming on 12/20. The STEM Mobile Biofabrication Integrated Lab Experience is a traveling lab that introduces the cutting-edge field of biofabrication to schools and communities across New Hampshire and its surrounding areas. So we're really excited to have them here, and would like to thank Abby Donnelly for her assistance in making this happen. At HPS, the safety glass is being installed to the entrances around HPS for the new doors that we had talked about. So those have already started to be put in. And we had the roofs up at Hughes checked again. We've had a couple leaks that are under warranty, so that's being taken care of before we get into the winter months. And if you were to come in and visit the buildings, you would start to see the excitement level is growing for our K-6, pre-K to 6 population as they gear up for all the wonderful holiday traditions that will be celebrated in the coming weeks. So it's quite a fun place. And that's it for the principal's reports.
Thank you. Any questions or anything for Andy?
I did notice enrollment was down by 4.
We had 2 kids in the preschool program move on, and then a student in grade 2 and grade 3, which is typical. You know, again, a lot of our move-ins and moves-outs are job-related.
I am assuming, because I think we often have a wait list for pre-K, that those 2 will be replaced relatively quickly?
It
Is that how it
depends
works?
on
Ratios.
the ratios.
Yeah,
Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me, because it's an ongoing rolling enrollment
sure.
when you turn 3.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy. Now we can move into our discussion portion. We're going to start with the FY26 budget discussion.
In your board packet, you have 2 documents. One is the Excel spreadsheet that gives you a line-by-line description of our expenses, what's going up, what's going down. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I will let you know that we have achieved guidance. For those folks at home that don't know what that is, the Budget Committee assigns a number that is considered guidance that they would like the school administration to achieve. We have done that. That number that we were provided was $17,060,729. We have proposed a budget of $17,058,647, so a difference of $2,081, but achieving guidance is something that we work together with the Budget Committee on. They do, if there was something unexpected, provide relief from guidance, and they have done that in the past. And they have, once again, gone through another budget season being very supportive of our school systems. So the operating budget increase will be just slightly over 3%, so 3.07% increase for the operating budget. Obviously, we don't have the HESA and the HEA numbers on our document because those weren't ratified until tonight. So this will change going upwards. But right now, with the contingency fund in, the SAU trust, the maintenance trust, the special ed trust, and a construction study estimate, we're looking at an overall increase of 4.4%. Now, obviously, those will go in higher once we put in the teachers' first year and the HESA first year. And moving on to academics, we have completed round 3.
Sorry, Andy, could I
Yes.
just ask a
Oh,
question
always.
on the guidance? Just a number that I wanted to check on, because I thought that the guidance number was that I had a number written down at 16,965. So there's probably just something I'm missing out there. I'm not sure from the 1705. Oh wait, no, sorry.
I will get together with Kelly and give you a quick email.
Okay.
Yes, let you know. In terms of the academics, in round 3, We have the mentor program. You'll see the math is been zeroed out because we had that in the line items. So we're still funding that, but we had that in the math line items, which are part of the Excel spreadsheet. The literacy.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm sorry, that doesn't, I apologize.
No, that's fine.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Well, how did it go from 14,000 to 0?
Because-
We're not canceling the math program.
No. What-
Fantastic.
what- We're done, we're done.
It's gonna be like, do they not like Eureka? I don't understand.
Yeah, we're all set. When we get to round 2 and 3, Kelly does a process which she calls scrubbing the line items. So the line items are all the lines that are in those Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah,
When she went through and looked at the cost for the annual math supplies, so your math workbooks and all of that, okay? We wouldn't be purchasing those this year because we've moved to
Okay.
the new math program.
okay, so
So-
this was a number that was kind of as a placeholder, thought that was going to be it, and then realized, oh, wait, we actually don't need to do that, we have what we
We
need.
actually already have it funded.
That makes
So you'll
sense
see
to me.
that, and the same thing is when you look at the literacy, it went from 25 to 20.
Yeah.
Because of what we had in the math lines when we scrubbed the budget.
In
Okay.
addition to that, when we implement a program, it comes with some materials that are startup costs. But then it's just the consumables that need to be replaced. So just getting a really refined year 2 quote helps with that. But just to look at if you were to check out the individual line item for math, it's 54,500. We're still paying for math. But we just didn't need 54,000 plus 14,000.
14,000, great, thank you very much.
Yeah. And that's a process that Kelly has put in place that she does between rounds 2 and 3 so that we're not just adding on to a line item. You know, because again, you could miss it if she didn't go through that process, and I thank her for that because it allows us to catch a lot and helps us to get close to guidance. The Lego kits are there, the Welch Allen Spot Vision Screener for the nurse, and the nurse cabinet, the mentor program at Hughes, and the literacy program came down from 17.5 to 10,000 as a result of that scrubbing. So all our academics that we were looking at have been funded. In the personnel, it is just the MTSS facilitator at both buildings and the chemical hygiene safety stipend, and that's because the chemical hygiene safety position is now a required position based on the new law. So we have one individual doing all 6 schools. It happens to be a science person at the high school, so they have that expertise. The new personnel pieces are a para, 2 paras at HPS and 1 para at Hughes. There's no computer equipment that's new because we're on a replacement cycle. The replacement cycle is identical to what we provided the board a couple years ago as far as our overall replacements. So there's money in there for student Chromebooks, staff laptops, and interactive flat panels. The shared software services, these are what I call security items. The centralized firewall security monitoring is split between 7 entities because it serves all our computers. And the Incident IQ is a updated asset management tracker. So it'll allow us to better track our inventory while at the same time identifying help desk items either from a maintenance point of view or a computer's point of view. Under the safety and compliance issues, we have moved the magnetic door systems from grades 2 and 3 to the potential bond next year. We maintain the night lock system, the exterior cameras, the radios, and the gate fence replacement on the SAU field. At Hughes, the school guard glass entrances, phase 2, was put into the maintenance trust. So those are still getting funded, and they have their night lock systems and their updated radios. In terms of the facilities maintenance, we did have to cut some items back, but we were able to keep the classroom furniture for kindergarten, which is phase 1. We have a number in there for new basketball set out here in the Hughes parking lot. One was done a couple years ago. This will be the second set. The girls' bathroom stall replacements were simply moved to the trust. Cabinet replacement is for phase 2 up here at Hughes. Classroom flooring for the lowest level in this building. And then classroom furniture for 5th grade and entry doors by the boiler room will be replaced. And
Can I-
again, go ahead.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
The handrail repairs got zeroed out in round 3. Is that gonna be rolled into something else?
It'll be rolled into something else, or it'll just be delayed. I mean, when I say repairs, I don't want anybody at home thinking that they're broken and like they're a safety issue.
No.
It's time for an upgrade.
Right.
Yep.
Kind of the scheduled thing. Is that the same, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing backwards.
Oh, that's
The
okay.
safety compliance issues section under Hughes, we have zeroed out the update building entry / control plus HPS / HBHS. That one got zeroed out there. What is
Those are
that
the,
gonna be paused because of HPS?
it's gonna be paused because we're updating the fob system.
Right.
Okay, so my fob that gets me into the building, they have come out with an enhanced version of what we have. So that was installed at HPS, it's been installed at the high school, and we're moving our way through. That would be one of the items that most likely we would be filing for, because we have been pretty confident the safety grants from the state will come out again.
Okay, good.
So we'd want to take advantage of those, but if it's something that was budgeted, it's not allowable under the grant.
Right.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, my pleasure. Moving down, we're going to replace the administrative office flooring here at Hughes to match what was done this summer. We have staff chairs at Hughes and desk for the main office. So that gets us back to my totals of a 3.1% increase and a 4.4% overall if all the warrants are passed. Again, the 4.4 does not include HESA or HEA, which will be added, because in all honesty, this might be one of the earliest times we've ratified the contracts.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about that from a budgeting standpoint, and we appreciate everybody's efforts on both sides to come to those agreements. And I'd be happy to take any questions about the budget, but I do want to thank everybody who is involved in the budget. Paula, Candy, Kelly, Donna, Gina, myself, Lance. This is our 11th year meeting guidance, and can truthfully say we're going to take some significant steps forward because of what's in the budget, but more importantly, the contracts that we ratify tonight are going to take care of the most important component, which is the person at the front of the room.
Absolutely.
And those paras and secretaries and all the support personnel that work so hard for us. So this is going to be a really good year for the Hollis School District, and we really encourage the voters to show up and discuss these items in annual meeting.
Excuse me for, this is a little new to me. You're saying, so this doesn't include, of course, and how could it, the cost of the two union negotiations. How will, now that we're adding those costs in, how is that going to affect our operating budget? And will have to be another round of some kind of a cut in order to meet guidance? How does that work
Our
going
operating
forward?
budget is what we need to meet guidance, and so we're good with our operating budget. The HESA and the HEA contracts are separate warrant articles.
Okay.
So what will change is that 4.4%, I did a rough calculation and it's 8.68%. But it's what we need to do in order to continue to move forward. So,
Okay.
but they're going to be voted on individually as individual
Yes.
warrants, and everyone has their ability to vote how they need to.
So next year, obviously the HCA contract is ambernized, so that's going to definitely, then we'll bring HESA before the voters again as a warrant article. So would then
Still not in
year
operating
two
budget.
okay, so no matter what,
No
it's
matter what.
always separate.
HEA will become
Okay.
part of the operating budget because it's
always-
ambernized, but HESA will be a separate warrant article for every year of the contract.
Oh, so HESA will
However-
be involved will be a part of operating next year.
HESA will not, but HEA
Not,
will.
no, HEA, that's
Yeah.
what I meant. Did I
But
say
it's
HESA?
not,
I'm
but
sorry.
it still doesn't go against guidance. right? How does that work?
No, it's part of guidance.
It'd be part of guidance, but the biggest piece of guidance that I'll give all the credit to the budget committees is, outside of guidance is our special education costs.
Yes.
By doing that, we meet all the federal mandates that are required for student services,
Yeah.
but we don't impact or have a negative impact to regular ed. And that's really a credit to the budget committee and their efforts.
Give me the short version of this.
Sure.
I know that the state is really cutting funding to special education. When do we have to start planning for that, as far as making up for those losses? Or have you already included that in here, looking ahead?
There are some pieces that have already started
Okay.
on that. That will be, I would say, another instance where the state is going to downshift mandated costs. Because just because the state is going to give us less, doesn't mean we get to pay less for special ed services.
Absolutely, yeah, it's going to fall
So,
on us.
if you start with a student who has, say, a $200,000 cost, you have to immediately subtract 3 years, or 3 times the student per pupil cost. So let's just use that at 60,000. So I subtract that, I'm at 140. Historically, the state has been giving us about 80% of that. Right? Now they're going to give us 63% approximately of the 80%.
Yeah,
So that is going to be significant downshifting of costs that the taxpayers in every community bear.
yeah,
You know, that's one of the reasons why we made the conscious decision a number of years ago to bring special education in-house.
yes,
First of all, because I believe we have better programming, I believe we have better staffing, and we can meet the vast majority of students' needs. And by doing that, we can kind of control our costs, maybe avoid some of the costs, you know, and slow the escalation of those costs. But it's going to be an interesting time, I think, in the next 2 years for special education and services and costs.
Andy, that was a very good summary, and it's a helpful framework, and maybe you just don't know, right? But do we have any sense about when that really starts showing up in our budget, and like when our expenses are significantly going to increase?
So it's an interesting model, the state special aid reimbursement, and that's what it is. It's special ed reimbursement way after the fact. So our budget looks exactly the same year over year. And then we submit at the year end, and so another year later, we receive the percentage of the amount over the dollar amount.
Goodness gracious.
And it comes in as revenue. So we're going to see a decrease in revenue over time. So what that does is it increases the amount of money that needs to be raised by taxes because we have less revenue, but our budget, that won't impact just what we put into our line items and our new items. That all remains the same.
It doesn't affect the budget, it affects how much revenue we get.
Correct.
But it's not going to be affecting how much revenue for maybe 2 or 3 years.
Well, it's already started to.
Okay.
The project, because they do the budget for 3 years at a time. And so they realized that they didn't really increase it very much for years 2 and 3. So it's already less than it was year over year.
Okay.
The other piece is, as a state, we extended the age for special ed services to 22 from 21. So we're talking about an impact that is not as great on our SAU because of our in-house programming. Because again, you don't get into this percentage of the percentage until you have a severely impacted student who needs to be placed out of district.
okay.
So we won't get as much, Gina's absolutely correct, in the revenue line, but by starting these programs, we've limited how that will impact us.
Thank you. That's all very
welcome.
helpful.
Our operating budget increased 3.1%. Is that a standard increase? Are we generally in that ballpark?
I'd say pretty close to that. I mean, there have been years where, lean years where the budget committee has given us guidance of 0 and asked to come in close as we could. And those are years when Kelly and I have gone to them and said, we'd like relief from guidance for maybe A, B, and C. And they've done that, so our percentages have been small. But it's been just a wonderful relationship, and I know Gina's already met with them, and I see that relationship continuing. So I would say you're kind of in that, they would like it to remain, probably 2 to 4, but there have been years where it's been 5 or 6, and they want to know why. When we've had to add 2 or 3 case managers, that shows up. But when you give them the rationale, if I add master's step 5 is fully loaded is $70,000, and if that's a case manager that allows me to keep students in district, it's a significant savings.
Yeah.
I had a question about SAU assessment.
Yep.
It just jumped out at me as increasing a bunch since 2023, and I was curious what goes into the cost for that.
The SAU budget is the expenses of the SAU administration, so it's a separate budget that the governing body will vote on. And like this year, I'll give you an example. The increased dollar amount from last year to this year is approximately $12,000 or 0.5%. But last year, to provide relief to the taxpayers, the board voted to use revenue to offset about $50,000 approximately. So this year, there isn't that same revenue available. So that's why you're seeing the cost increase. So anytime you try to use fund balance to offset taxes, you just delay the bill.
Yeah,
But there are good times to do that, because some years are better than others for communities.
I was misunderstanding what the how
No.
assessment was either, so sorry about that.
Not a problem, happy to answer.
Because if you had that question, somebody at home has
Yeah.
that question. Always the case.
I don't envision any other changes. Kelly's still going through line items, Gina and I are still looking at different things, but nothing of significance. So there'll probably be around 4, because there's around 4, but it'll probably be a very brief discussion, because it'll probably stay right in that ballpark.
Andy, can you just talk about the rationale that you used in moving some of the facilities expenses to the trust?
Sure. When we looked at the trust, which had traditionally been about $125,000, in both Brookline and the co-op, we've begun to make adjustments because our ongoing maintenance costs, and what I mean by that is like paving, flooring, items like that, 125 just doesn't go as far. So we adjusted that to be a $200,000 ticket that will stay pretty consistent over the next number of years. And then when we looked at projects, we always start everything in the budget, and then we identify things that are maintenance trust items. So the paving of Drury Lane absolutely fits the category of the maintenance trust, so that was moved over to the trust. Okay, let me just see what, I think there were a couple others. The exit lane had already been moved over there, which will be part of that pavement project. And the lane may be delayed because we have the traffic study.
Right.
We're going to talk about that. And let's see. And then the exterior door removal went to the trust. So it wasn't major things. As I already talked about, the guard glass at Hughes will be done out of the trust. And that's typical every year. We're going to move X number of items from the budget to the trust once we get through the first couple rounds.
Any other budget questions for Andy?
Oh, one more thing, sorry. And the bond, you mentioned that's not an item for this.
The bond, if you recall, is actually leftover money that you guys voted on last meeting to utilize the leftover money from our existing bond toward like the Muntner's unit
Right.
and
Got it.
those blue the orange items, the staff bathrooms and the
Okay.
door magnet system, because they were in line with the ideas of that project.
Okay, so that's not an additional bond, that's what we voted on
Yep.
last month.
Yep.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
All right, and now we are on to our enrollment committee update.
Okay.
Crack those knuckles, let's go.
So where are we? So right before our last enrollment committee meeting, which was on November 20th, I met with our architectural consultant, Dave Eli, and Paul Keach of Keach and Nordstrom, and Jason from VHB, who would be doing the traffic study. And we just talked about what would be happening between now and the town meeting, what their proposals mean going forward. So you have the proposals there from KNA and from VHB, the engineering and the traffic study. Those have not changed since our last meeting. And one of the things we talked about was that wasn't anything for us to vote on at the time, nor is it now, but rather for a warrant article. They gave me a little clarification on the kind of work that they would be doing. So regarding the traffic study, that would not be able to start until after the warrant article. And you see it's $34,400. He would be coming probably in April, and he would begin taking a look, making observations. He would want to be coming during, good weather when there's not going to be a lot of, breaks, professional development, early releases, et cetera. He wants to see the regular traffic flow. Paul from Keach Nordstrom is actually already doing some preliminary work for us off contract with anticipation that this warrant article would be approved. And some of the things that he's looking into are just by using public records, et cetera, and what he can see using Google Earth to take a look at boundaries of our land, what kind of deeds would be necessary. He thinks that the soil analysis and the wetlands analysis will not be a problem, that we should probably be able to build that bridge between the SAU lot and the parking lot of HPS. Something that I asked of them in our discussions, just looking ahead to when, provided the warrant article is approved, and when we start talking, and they get into their work, I asked them to remember that we're also looking at not just the land around HPS, but also Hughes, because when we're talking about traffic study, when we're talking about where to build, how to build, we're talking about Drury Lane. We have to think about all of that space. I asked them to take a look and see if there's a way to direct traffic out to 130, if that's possible, which had not been discussed previously. They feel like there may be a possibility for that, so that's something that they'll look into. And also to look on both sides of Drury Lane, like can we widen that lane? If buses have to turn onto it right now, it's a tight squeeze. So that's some of the work that they're going to be doing for us if we put forward this warrant article and it is approved by the taxpayers. Things take a while, just DOT getting the curb cut approved and getting that going is going to take about 12 months from start to finish. The wetlands analysis, if you read through their proposal at all, at the end of the day, it's going to take somewhere between 6 to 8 months to get all of that information out. Why do we need all this information? We need this information so that we can move forward with some sort of architectural design and have an idea of what is possible to meet the challenges that we have right now in enrollment. So that brings me to Dave's proposal and also to a little bit of an update of what happened at the Budget Committee meeting last month. So to back up a little bit, BudCom asked for a ballpark figure of the cost of this project because they're kind of penciling in for their long-term debt. Raphael asked me about that. I asked Dave, what do you think? And just breathe, okay, because this is not what the final number is going to be. But he said that with the conceptual design that he had put forth thus far, that the cost could be somewhere around $10 million. Since the budget committee was thinking 3 million, you can imagine the reaction. This was not something everybody was pleased to hear. We're in the baby stages, and again, we don't even know what's possible. We're not going forward with a warrant article to pay for the conceptual design that Dave presented to us. That just gave us an idea. And so at our last enrollment committee meeting, we actually talked about, like, let's look at this concept design, the same one that you all were given. Let's look at the size of the gymnasium that was proposed, the size of the library, the size of some of the classrooms. Is all this necessary? And if anybody is interested in going to our meeting minutes on our page, it's a quick Google search, an SAU 41 Enrollment Committee. You'll see our meeting minutes. There's a document that I had created that kind of just broke down how we could bring the cost down, and it seemed very feasible. We could bring it down to about $7.5 million, just by making what seemed to be uncontroversial changes. And of course, that would all have to be up for discussion. But Dave won't even get into, redesigning and rethinking all of that until we have the information from our traffic study and from our engineers. Because even as it is now, the plan that he's given to us, we don't know if that is even feasible. So he ended up giving us revised proposals. They're in your packet. The proposal dated the November 18th is for pre-design services, and that's basically for work that he would be doing from now through March, and that's basically to be available as a consultant, to talk with us about next steps, to attend our meetings, to advise on finding a construction manager, etc. Because a construction manager also is the person who's going to be able to give us more concrete numbers when the time comes. The second proposal, that would be what we would be asking for in a warrant article, is the one dated November 19th. And as we requested at the last meeting, we asked Dave to be a little bit more specific in his numbers and in the work that he would be providing. And we think that he came through with that. And if you scan down to his fees, the total cost is $120,000. So what we are hoping for is that we would be presenting a warrant article that would include Dave's $120,000, the $108,000 from KNA, and the $34,500 from VHB, and put that to the taxpayers so that we can see what's available. In order to keep the community informed and involved, Mrs. Bickey and I will be meeting Friday morning. We're going to be talking about setting a date during winter break, probably in the evening time, as was suggested by a community member, so we can kind of increase numbers of community members that could attend, to do an open house for members of BudCon to come, to members of the community to come and just see why this is an issue. What are the challenges that HPS is facing right now and has been facing with increased enrollment, and what we foresee is needed. So that information should be coming out relatively soon.
This is maybe a question for Rafi, but Rafi, I don't know if you have any sense about, and I assume it's just because people didn't have any information yet, but like why there was such a discrepancy in what the BudCom expected and why did they have the number of 3 million in their head for what this was going to cost? Do you know?
I don't know exactly how that number came on there. I think it was just like a placeholder ballpark. I think at earlier meetings they had talked about $1 per square foot amount, and I think that the $1 square foot for construction that they had in their heads to get towards that kind of number was lower than I think the kind of $1 per square foot that Dave is coming from. So I think that $1 per square foot has increased, and that's
Post-COVID world
yeah.
is essentially,
Yeah. What'd you say?
post-COVID world.
Post-COVID.
Costs have increased. I'm not sure what they had planned on, but Dave said that new construction is anywhere between $400 and $450 a square foot. Renovation somewhere around $200 a square foot. So in reducing their costs, we're going to be looking at what we can reduce in the additions, namely the gymnasium, music room, library, to be a little bit more conservative and not so opulent as we have right now in our conceptual design.
And was there a reason why he felt hopeful that the wetland
building a bridge in that one spot that we were worried was going to be, is considered wetlands, that he feels like it's not going to be an issue?
You know, it was just kind of brushed off as it's a creek. It should not be an issue building over it. He didn't see it as being complicated or controversial. However, we don't know
Yeah.
about going deeper into the woods, the sides, you know, the land flanking on either side of Drury Lane. We're not certain about that. So those are all the unknowns. But that one bridge, he feels like, is entirely possible. And I feel like no matter what, we're going to need to do that, because I'm sure everybody is aware that the parking situation and the carpool situation greatly need to be improved, and that would help quite a bit.
I'm going to go back to your opulent comment. I know it kind of said it a little bit in jest, but also, you know,
Yeah.
I want to caution that if we're going to undertake a project like this, we don't want to undercut a bunch of stuff and then realize we've spent a bunch of money and not have it meet the needs that we have.
No, he was giving us a rather large gymnasium. So we were in our meetings up to that point. We actually hadn't talked about cost at all. Before Rafi asked me to, you know, give him a ballpark for BudCom. No, it's really great that he did. Oh, sorry, Mr.
Rain
Zach.
on the opulent parade.
Board member Zach asked me.
It's like your mom using your full name right there.
Really, yeah, we hadn't. I think that we were so focused on just what are the spaces that we need for whom, and, you know, then thinking about, you know, traffic flow and, you know, those kinds of like practical situations. Where's electrical located? Where's the propane? Where's the septic? What would we do with the playground? You know, all of those things. We didn't actually talk about, hey, what's this going to cost? You know, we just saw, oh, we need a gymnasium. He gave us a gymnasium. Well, he gave us a gymnasium was a pretty large gymnasium. It was over 7,000 square feet. We don't need that. It included also a stage. You know, we don't give performances. You know, we don't have a band like Hughes does.
I would have to say that I think those kids view those monthly meetings, those performances, though. So just saying.
But those were things that, like, when you're looking at a cost that high, right? Those are the things that we have to have the real conversations about. Also, you know, my concern, and this was brought up at our last meeting, and it's something that we will continue to discuss, is we really need to take a harder look at some of these enrollment reports. I'm trying to get a meeting with the town planner to understand this assumption that we're coming close to capacity, because this idea that we only have 100 to 150 units available doesn't take into account the idea that we also have residents who will be moving out and younger families moving in and bringing more children, right? All of these things were discussed at BudCom. They've been discussed regularly. Look at our meetings, at the enrollment committee meetings. So I would like to, when we go back to the drawing board eventually, I'd like to talk about how can we fit in more classrooms, because that's what we're going to need, you know. And if not, if we can't fit in more, well, then what's the next step? Then what's the next plan? Because as we know, building up doesn't necessarily work with this population.
Right.
So there are a lot of things that are still on the table. There are a lot of discussions that still need to take place, and basically we need the funding for that to happen. But again, none of these conversations can take place until we understand the land that we're working with. So these are, to me, extremely logical first steps. I mean, the town should be familiar with this. We just approved last year $300,000 to do something very similar, to do, you know, some exploratory work for the Farley building, which is projected at $5 million. So, you know, the town should be familiar with this kind of a process. And I think that providing the open house, which hopefully people will attend, should maybe get the word out there. So we're going to have quite a campaign to get the word out to all community members and stakeholders, but particularly those with young families, because it's the current toddlers and babies in our town that are going to benefit the most from the changes that happen in the next year or two.
Yeah, and I will say, we took a tour of the primary school very early on as our work on the committee, and we've been talking about it for years, but to actually see the size of the spaces where some, teachers are working, and the size of the offices and the spaces that are being shared, it was really eye-opening to understand the day-to-day implications on the staff and the students.
Yeah, the town really needs to understand we have an award-winning, internationally recognized teacher who is teaching in a hallway right now. That's not acceptable. These are the things that need to change. So, this, like I said, very logical first steps. You add it up, we're looking at 120, 162, 106, 262 and a half. $262,500 total for all three. It's a reasonable expense, I think, considering, we need this investment in order to know what kind of work can be done.
There's no way to move forward without it.
Yeah, there really isn't. It's guesswork, and we can't do guesswork.
Well, and this district has seen that many times with the different improvements that were done on HPS over the years. So it's not an unfamiliar concept of the exploratory, so I think this is the right step. And for all of you at home, the school district annual meeting is Wednesday, March 12th, with a snow date of Friday, March 14th. Put it on your calendars.
And the next enrollment committee meeting is December 18th for anybody who would like to attend. It's open to the public.
Awesome.
I just have one more question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Something that I was curious about in the Windy Hill proposal was
Which one?
the November 19th proposal
Okay.
to provide.
So the potential warrant article.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Under the fees, he has down that the fee for the listed items is estimated at 7% of the cost of construction. I'm just curious, since we started talking about like ballpark numbers and stuff, like where that 7% kind of come from, because it's, or in what portion of the total?
I think he's trying to give us an idea that when you put together the cost of not only his design, but the 120,000 and, I think he lists it here, the fee for architectural, plumbing, engineering services, which we don't even know yet. Schematic design, design development, construction documents, construction administration is estimated at 7% of the cost of construction. So when we know the cost of all of those pieces, that will be 7% of what it will cost to build, to put it all into motion and make it a building. So we don't have those numbers yet, but once we do, we can then that would be the number I would go to BudCom with and say, this is what you have to pencil in. Because quite frankly, even the conceptual number of like $7.5 million, if we were to cut it down in a manner similar to what I had proposed to the team, that doesn't include the site work. What needs to be done in the parking lot, land, leveling, building roads. So it's potentially a large project.
Thanks for that.
All right. Any other questions, comments on the enrollment committee update? Awesome. Thanks for the continued work, you guys. Great job.
Public input?
That's awesome. I'm officially closing public input at 7:32. And our next section is deliberation. We already ratified our HESA and HEA agreements. And so now we're moving on to see what action the board will take regarding the proposed policy memo.
Let's see. Did we structure this time as one memo that we're voting on?
I think it's first document.
I believe she structured it as individual.
There is a memo, but the other.
It's whatever
There's
you
a
want.
memo, but I believe there's individual motions
Okay.
for each policy.
Correct. Let me get to, yeah, if you look at the outline. Right. So do we have any discussion points, or do we just want to dive into the structure, the motions and things?
I think we can motion and discuss as we go. I just am finding the
Right below that.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, so I move to accept the third reading and adopt policy JLCC, head lice pediculosis.
Second?
Second.
We didn't make any changes to this policy from our second read, so it is the same.
We're looking forward to adopting it,
Correct.
so we can stop talking about it.
Every time we talk about head lice, I'm like, all right. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting?
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So I move to amend by deleting the fourth paragraph and all but the last sentence of the fifth paragraph and accept the third reading and adopted policy ILD, educational questionnaires, surveys, and research as amended.
Second?
Second.
So what we did in this policy is there was some language in here about the YRB survey, which we don't do in the primary schools. We didn't want to entirely take out that reference because we do still use it in our district, but in the high school. So we kept one sentence about it, but it felt like it was actually unnecessary to have 2 long paragraphs about it. So we took that out, but didn't make any changes anywhere else.
Any questions, comments?
I think the only thing, since we sort of deleted where we define the youth risk behavior survey as YRBS, I think we probably need to insert that definition maybe just in the title of that section,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
just to make it clear.
Good call, Amy. Excellent. Anything else? Can we still do the adopt with that?
We can adopt with that amendment, yep.
All right. All those in favor of accepting and adopting?
Thank you.
I move to accept the second reading, waive the third, and adopt policy JLCJA, emergency plan for sports-related injuries and additional protocols for athletics participations.
Second?
Second.
We did not make any changes to this. It is again one that we're required to have. It's not astoundingly relevant for our population because we don't have sports teams for the schools. But yeah.
Excellent. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, on page 2, under the 6th line, I think there's a typo with students to return, governing as students to return to play.
Student return to play, number 3.
Yeah.
Where's the typography?
Is there an extra 2 there? Maybe not.
Governing of students to return, yeah. Governing of students' return is what it should say.
Yeah.
Wait.
Right at the top of page 2,
Yep.
there's a paragraph with a 3 in front of it. It says
Yeah.
student return to play. Procedures governing a student's to return to play after a sports or
Okay.
illness-related injury. He's
Okay.
just saying,
Yeah.
just take out that. other
Perfect.
Yeah.
term.
I just couldn't find it. Thank you.
I
Good
got you.
catch. Yeah, Ben.
All right. Good call out. Do you have another?
Yeah, one other thing, I was just curious. Which section? 9F. Oh, on the first page in section A, creation of plan, and then under F, we're talking about the AEDs, and I was just curious, since we have the whole other AED plan, should it make reference to KFD as well? Or is it not necessary, maybe?
That's a good question. Did you have thoughts about that, Gina?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, the KFD is brand new, so it's JLCJA is not, so that's probably why when they amended what we had to include, they didn't really think about that now there's another policy, but absolutely we can do that.
Okay.
Are those still acceptable adoption updates?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So all those in favor, any more discussion? Sorry. Nope. Hopping on people.
Let me just type that note to myself real quick.
Let's all stare at her while she does it.
You know, so let's take this note so I don't need to.
I am, yeah. And maybe one of us will get it straight.
Okay.
Great. All right, you good?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Thank you.
500.
I move to amend policy IGE, parental objections to specific course materials, in the second paragraph by inserting in email or formal letter following writing, and the third paragraph by inserting a form supplied by the principal in response to the request following course material, and accept the second reading as amended.
Second?
Second.
I just have a question, and I'm not saying anything needs to be changed here, but just, underneath, so this is the first page, underneath the bold note regarding human sexuality and human sexual education. When it talks about such notice, it's like 3 lines up from the bottom. Such notice will be delivered via email, other direct written means, website/social media posting, or phone call. I'm just wondering about the website/social media posting. How would that work? Because it looks like that's a potential acceptable way of notifying parents that this conversation is gonna.
So our communication
think
tool
probably in
is
Parent
Parent Square, yeah.
Okay, that's what you mean. All right.
And it is similar to social media. That's how it was designed to resemble social media, so it falls under that. We typically sort of cover our bases by posting information on our website as well, but that wouldn't be where we would make sure that that information got out and got home, and it would be Parent Square.
Okay.
So, go ahead. Nope, I was going to ask for any other.
I was just saying the 2 small changes we made were just adding some additional clarification about making sure it's crystal clear about how you can make the request and where that form comes from and how they get it.
Those are good changes. All right, any other questions, comments on IGE? All right, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor of accepting second reading? 500.
I move to amend policy KFD, use and location of automated external defibrillators, in its entirety by replacing it with the copy provided with the agenda, and accept the second reading as amended.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Does anyone have any questions about this?
I was curious about the liability limited section. It looked like the number 6 got removed. If it's just kind of under 5, or?
Yeah, it shouldn't have been, I'm not sure why that happened, but the 6, we're not getting rid of the 6.
Okay.
But we felt that the language straight from the RSA made better sense than simply saying, we're going to enjoy this limited liability. Like it was a celebration or something. So we felt like it made better sense to really explain what it was that we were talking about. If you make a good faith effort to save a life, then you're covered. And then we deleted 2 links that didn't work, and we really felt like we didn't need to have those. The nurse knows where the form is. She's the one that does the form, so we don't need to have that available to everybody. It's a state level form, so.
Perfect.
All right, any other questions on KFD? All right, let's go ahead and vote to accept second. Are you all set? Okay. All those in favor of accepting second reading? 500.
I move to amend policy EBCB, fire and all hazard drills, in its entirety by replacing it with the copy provided with the agenda, and accept the second reading as amended.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
So this is, we looked at this last month. This is a pretty short policy, but it needed to be updated. There were some changes in exactly how drills sort of like we're doing drills not just for fire drills.
Any questions, comments on EBCB?
Just something very minor. Some of the all hazard additions, some of them have a hyphen, some of them don't have a hyphen, so just having something consistent.
You get to choose which one you like.
Sure.
We'll clean that up.
Excellent. Any others? Seeing none, we can take a vote. Do you need a second to type? You're good. All those in favor of accepting second reading? 500.
Thank you.
I move to accept the second reading of policy DAF, Administration of Federal Grant Funds.
Second?
Second. So this is a very long policy. We looked at this last month. There were some we had done a lot of editing of grammar in the policy board, and then school board members found a couple of other additional things last month, but no changes to it. This is what the law requires.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Just have to find it. Since it's a big
I love how detail oriented you are.
I know,
now.
I do too. It's fantastic.
one. Page 4.
Oh, geez, 1, 2.
Sorry. Section D. I think there's a number 1, and then there's a number 2 below, so I think the indentation just
Yeah.
got weird.
I just put it there so you could, I wanted to see if you were reading it.
I know. That's fine.
Next time, she's just going to put your name in the middle.
Right.
Browning recipe. Excellent. Any others, Ralph?
Yeah, bottom of page 25.
Sure is a page turner, this one.
It's the third from the last, Gina. 25.
I think the 1 was mistakenly taken out,
Oh, yeah.
just above E.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor of accepting the second reading? 500.
Thank you.
I move to accept the second reading of policy JLF, reporting child abuse or neglect.
What about EH?
Oh, did I miss one? Yep. Let's go back. I don't do that yet. I move to accept the second reading of policy EH, data management.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I don't think we need any changes to this in the policy board.
Is there a reason that the fonts change?
Hey, look, we have a copy on the board.
So that actually doesn't really matter because they're all going to go into, drum roll please, Board Docs is going to get a major overhaul next week. It'll be much more user-friendly. You'll be able to, if you wanted to, Amy, print out one agenda packet with all the attachments at once. And we will also have the ability, we will also have the ability to have folks from the community sign up for updates when we post a new agenda.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
lots of great things coming, including they'll fix the fonts for us. So it'll be great. Looking forward to it.
I just didn't know if like maybe that was supposed to be like underlined. Is that something like, I don't know. Anyways, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now that we've settled the font conversation, any other comments on EH tonight? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the second reading?
Thank you.
500.
I don't know. Can we like put in a request for which one? Ariel, Garamond, you know.
We'll do
Sans
that by
serif. Book Antiqua.
silent secret ballot.
There you
Sans
go.
serif is easier to read. We're promoting for that.
What about Comic Sans?
It's actually very reader-friendly.
Look
I know.
look real nice and professional. I love that.
I move to accept the second reading of policy JLF, reporting child abuse or neglect.
Second?
Second.
We did not make any updates to this in the policy board.
Any questions, comments on this one?
I think so.
The random capital B.
I think on page 3, it goes to D, the signage notification and district reporting form, but I don't think there was a C.
You're right.
Thank you, Rafi.
Is there even? Where's the A? There's not even. oh,
You're right.
A is
There's a
right
B, but
There's
Yeah.
a B.
is there an A? Oh, yeah, there is.
Yeah, they're not highlighted.
Not bold. Okay,
It's
we'll fix
more
that.
font
I
and
love font
style
changes.
things. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the second reading?
Thank you.
0, 0.
I move to accept the second reading of policy IHAM, health education and exemption from instruction.
Second?
Second.
I'm like,
I'm just all about moving it along.
This is another policy that we did not change in the policy board from last month.
any comments, suggestions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the second reading? 500.
Did you guys see the policy in invisible ink? So included in the packet is policy BEA. It did make it to the memo. So we'll just move that to the next month. It's not crucial. I apologize for that. However, it's just that it says our board meetings are the second Wednesday of the month, and that's not the case. So we just figured we should probably update that. So you'll be seeing this again next month.
Will we though?
I don't know. Maybe.
We'll bring your
Very
iron for
exciting.
the milk.
Sorry about that.
I wanted to take a quick second before I take a non-debatable motion to say thank you for the treats that were
Yeah.
given to us. We appreciate you. To say thank you again to the negotiating teams. It's hard but necessary work, but we made all the right moves. And I also wanted to say happy holidays to everybody, because our next meeting will be after the turn of the new year.
Yeah.
So at this time, I will take a non-debatable motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn until next year.
Is that
Love
fine?
that, right? I'll see you next year. Any second on that motion?
Second.
There we go. All those in favor? 500.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.